our Death Star, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Alright, so the Mandalorian keeps on rolling, and it looks like EA might be backpedaling a little bit on Squadrons. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Right on.
Well, you remember, it's probably a few weeks ago, we talked about Squadrons and how they're not planning any content.
Right. Yeah.
We released a game. It's cheap. Shut up. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which I understand people, but the thing is people are saying they're willing to pay. They like this game enough. They're willing to pay for more content.
Okay.
Like you actually have a situation where people are like, hey, pay for some DLC? Sure. I only paid $40 for this game.
Ah, I see.
You know, you put out a game for $40 and it's a good game. People might go, I might toss a few more bucks your way.
Right.
So, yeah. So they said no, they have no future content plan for Squadrons. What they released is what they released.
Okay.
Well,
I got a feeling.
Turns out that was not true.
Okay.
And I say that's not true because this seems a little fast for, oh wow, they really want content. Let's give them some more content.
Right. Yeah.
Like
so
weeks ago.
Yeah. Let's here. Everyone's working 16 hours a day. Let's go. Yeah. I don't think so.
I doubt it. Not during COVID.
Right.
So, maybe this is stuff that they had started working on and had scrapped. Like, maybe we don't need to do this. We can move on to other things, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's possible. It's
possible, but yeah.
Here's the other thing. The first content update is coming on November 25th.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a pretty short timeline.
Yeah, it is.
And it includes a new map.
Okay.
Now, maybe they could pull this off because it is a map from the campaign.
Okay.
Okay, so they are including Foster Haven, which is the first map you see, the first place you see on screen playing this game.
Okay.
Very first place, right?
Yep.
So it's a space station, so they're going to stick with the whole throwing a bunch of crap in your way when you're trying to fight.
Okay.
Which is good because it does add a lot of dynamic to it, right?
Sure.
And it's a lot harder to run from other ships than you think, so you kind of need some stuff in the way to use to your advantage.
Right.
So, but that's only the beginning.
Okay.
Because in December, they are bringing 2 new ships to the game.
Okay. What ships are these?
So, on the side of the New Republic, you will be getting a B-Wing.
Ooh, nice.
And on the side of the Empire, the TIE Defender.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
These are 2 fantastic additions.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what they'll do to balance the TIE Defender.
What do you mean?
Because in theory,
yeah,
that ship should be absolutely ridiculous to deal with.
Right.
With the firepower, shields, speed.
True.
That should be a tough ship.
B-Wing too, though. I got a feeling
it's a tough ship. It's got some firepower.
I got a feeling that they're going to be kind of, I would assume, maybe pretty evenly matched. Different, but evenly matched. I don't know. That B-Wing.
I'm really thinking of the other ships in the game.
Okay.
dealing with these two ships.
Right. That would be a thing.
These two ships have reputations for a reason,
Yes.
because they would be extremely hard to deal with for these other ships. This is one TIE fighter that the X-Wing is not really a match for.
Yeah.
And the other TIE fighters, they were no match for the B-Wing.
Right.
And then the B-Wing brings enough firepower to deal with, your Corvettes and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah,
That's awesome.
it is awesome. It is awesome. I can't wait to check these things out.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to play the game yet, but it sounds cool.
So, I mean, they do say there's still gonna be good reasons, right, to pick a Y-Wing over a B-Wing,
Okay.
or to pick a TIE fighter over a TIE defender.
Yep.
The one I can understand. Okay, the Y-Wing over the B-Wing. There's things a Y-Wing can do.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, ion cannon, man.
Yeah.
It's just-
Right.
But
So-
I don't know how you can make an argument that, yeah, I'll pick a TIE fighter over a TIE defender.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't really know where you make that argument.
I mean, could they be situational for whatever reason? I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff in this game is situational. There is a lot of that, but there is a lot of people, they gravitate towards the bombers.
Right.
You have it's a slower ship and everything, but you have the added durability and more firepower. Now, ship to ship, Y-Wings, if you're fighting against other good pilots, like an interceptor is gonna shred you.
Sure.
But that's where your support ships come in.
Gotcha.
So a Y-Wing shouldn't be flying by itself.
Yeah.
So it could get shredded by an interceptor. But that ion cannon is dirty. When you get hit by it, you're like, crap.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't destroy you, right?
Right. Right. You're just floating in space, basically, right?
Yeah, but all your controls die, and you're
Yep.
like, well, I mean, I'm just sitting here waiting for an X-Wing to pick me off now.
Yep.
I mean, you don't lose complete control of your ship in the game. Obviously, they don't want to do that to you,
Right.
but it's enough to lose any advantage you had. So,
Nice.
but yeah, I'm interested to see back to the new ships. Interested to see how they change the gameplay.
Yeah. I guess in a way that's a nice little nod to Rebels too, huh?
Oh yeah,
I mean, those ships were key to that show.
yeah. I mean, the B-Wing made its appearances in the original trilogy,
Yes.
but the TIE Defender is exclusive to Rebels.
And, the, what would you call it? The chronological timeline, I guess.
Yeah.
The B-Wing was introduced there,
Yes.
We originally saw it in Return of the Jedi, as far as I'm aware. And I gotta say, I had one as a toy and it was awesome. So,
The thing about the B-Wing in Return of the Jedi is we never really knew what the B-Wing could do.
Right. Yeah, we never got to see that up close. They were there, but just part of the larger battle.
Right. It wasn't really till Rebels till we really knew what that ship was all about.
Exactly.
I mean, there was all kinds of speculation and, creative uses for it
Mm-hmm.
in like the expanded universe and stuff. But in the sense of canon, we didn't really know till Rebels.
Right.
It turns out that ship's pretty badass.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, looking forward to that, and looking forward to future content updates. Because, I mean, once they dip their toes in the water, you think they're going to be able to get away with,
Yeah.
nothing else?
Yeah. I mean, it seems kind of funny to me that, they did a reasonable thing, right? They put out a good game at a reasonable price and said, look, that's going to be it. And like you said, it's almost inconceivable that they didn't have a plan for this ahead of time. and here we are getting more content. So I don't know.
Oh. And before we move away from it, I will mention that there is some other things coming along with these items. They are adding, different components that you'll be able to fit your ships with.
Oh, okay.
So if you want all the details on that, you can head over to StarWars.com and check that out. And as well as the custom matches. So they'll be adding custom matches.
Oh.
So that custom matches always do good for, like building the community, if you would.
Okay.
Custom matches open it up for, players to, in like clubs and things like that, to host their own kind of tournaments,
I see.
with
All right.
different modes and things like that you different rules and stuff that you tweak.
Right.
So that's always popular in like, any multiplayer game, Call of Duty, things like that. Being
Sure.
able to make custom matches is a big deal. Halo,
Yep.
So yeah, and all the details for custom matches are also, you can find those at StarWars.com. There's too much to go over with all that stuff, and we'll be here forever talking about that.
Right on.
The important stuff to talk about was the new map and the new ships.
Cool.
All right. So there's been a lot of speculation over the last few years about what would George Lucas have done with the sequel trilogy.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
There's been all these cries for the Lucas films, like
Yes.
and then we got what about the Lucas cut?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you mean Lucas cut? You think that guy's gonna come in and like go, oh yeah, I'll do that guy's movie, but
Yeah, I don't think so.
add my own twist? No. So, well, there's a book that kind of lifts the veil a little bit on what George might have been thinking.
Yeah. So this is Star Wars Archives, 1999 through 2005. That's the main one, I believe, here.
Yep.
And I'm looking at an article from IGN on what George would have done here, if the sequel trilogy were, still left up to him, or using his ideas, his broad brushstrokes of what he would have done. I was just figuring we could hit on a few of these points and just kind of like riff on them a little bit, because just some things are just kind of interesting, and when you think about it, it's like, some things are a little similar, and other things are kind of like, wow, that probably would have been better.
Right.
but
and what I'll say about like the George Lucas idea, right? These are George Lucas's ideas he had for the sequels and whatever, and this goes over other ideas he had for the prequels and the such, right?
For the prequels,
I
I'm not
think
sure.
the book focuses on that.
Oh,
Star Wars Archives, 1999 to 2005.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So the book is focused on prequels.
Yep.
But I think what it goes with is, while he was making these films, he had ideas in his head for what a third trilogy would look like.
Right.
And this was what he was thinking.
Yeah. Like I was saying, the broad brushstrokes, nothing, no details.
So this was George Lucas in the mindset of 99 to 2005. This is not George Lucas after all that played out, after he did the Clone Wars, after he did Rebels. Well, he didn't do Rebels. Getting ahead of myself.
Well, some of it got like kind of references back to that a little bit, but we'll get there.
But this stuff actually makes sense to why decisions were made later in the Clone Wars.
Right. Because
the Clone Wars hits on these ideas that he had.
Exactly. It's kind of what I was getting at too. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, this is George Lucas in 99 to 2005, his mindset. This is where he thought he was going.
Right.
And as is what I was getting at when I initially jumped in there was George Lucas's ideas. Yeah, they change.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So this is like, oh, this is what George would have done. No, this is what he would have done when thinking about it in 1999. When you get to episode 7 later on, George Lucas could be in a completely different place.
It's possible.
I mean, hell, they made a comic book series about his original ideas for the original films that he made.
Yes.
That's how much George Lucas changes his mind. They were able to make a comic book series that was completely different from what he actually put out.
This is true.
For their first set of films.
Yeah, those ideas, they evolved. I mean, as they got made, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there. That this is how he works.
Yes.
So whatever it is, it's like George had an idea, grain of salt, because that idea was probably going to change.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, anyways, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm
not sure if I should now. I don't know.
Huh?
I said I'm not sure if I should now. Okay. So just like I said, broad brushstrokes. He explains that he had planned for the first trilogy to be about the father, the second trilogy to be about the son, and the third trilogy to be about the daughter and the grandchildren. So,
I noticed the emphasis you put there.
Well, okay, I'm a big Heir of the Empire Zahn fan. So,
Jason and
Jaina. This, it makes me think of that when he says grandchildren. So, I don't know. I can't help but think this I don't know. For all those who have read all those old books and all that, the old EU, we know there was a much more complex, I don't know, storyline there, which again you can do with books more than movies, but there's a soft spot in my, for that. But
well, I'd like to point out too that while all that was going down at the time, George Lucas was I wouldn't say very, but he was vocal about stuff he liked, stuff he didn't like.
True. Yes.
And some of the characters he wasn't big on would have been like Mara Jade.
Right. Yeah. Not a fan.
He was never very big on Mara Jade. He was never very big on Jason Solo. George Lucas loved Jaina Solo.
Right.
He was very clear about what he thought of that character. He did like that character.
Right.
So,
well, it's kind of okay. So he said it right there in just here's what the three trilogies would be about, right?
Right.
The third one being the daughter and the grandchildren centric. It was always, I've never heard him veer off from this, but he's always said the third trilogy would focus on a female protagonist, which cool. That's just how he's seen it play out. That's how he wanted to do it. That's cool. But, I would assume that's kind of why he liked Jaina so much. So,
yes.
Get into the time period here a little bit. He says it starts out a few years after Return of the Jedi, and we establish pretty quickly that there's this underworld. There are these offshoot stormtroopers who started their own planets, and that Luke is trying to restart the Jedi. He puts the word out, so out of 100,000 Jedi, maybe 50 or 100 are left. The Jedi have to grow again from scratch, so Luke has to find 2 and 3-year-olds and train them. It'll be 20 years before you have a new generation of Jedi. So right there, it sounds like a little departure from what we got in the Disney sequel trilogy, because I get the impression that as opposed to, like episode 8 picks up right after episode 7, we might have a 10-year gap or something, but it sounds to me like his intention was for us to actually see some of this Jedi Order building going on with Luke, which is something that I think a lot of fans who weren't happy with the sequel trilogy kind of wanted to see,
Yeah. And it is interesting to hear that there's a number put on how many Jedi. It's not a hard number, but
right,
a roundabout number to how many Jedi are surviving.
Right.
From Order 66.
Yeah, interesting, because, I will say, I always harken back to that Tarkin line, talking to Vader, you are all that's left of their religion. So for years, you went on thinking, man, there was none left,
right.
But apparently enough to actually restart something. So he goes on. So I kind of like this part right here where he's talking about, because this almost might sound like it could get a little political, but I don't think it would really be that way. And this part really intrigues me because I could get into this kind of story. But he says, okay, you fought the war. You killed everybody. Now what are you going to do? Rebuilding afterwards is harder than starting a rebellion or fighting the war. When you win the war and you disband the opposing army, what do? The stormtroopers would be like Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist fighters that joined ISIS and kept on fighting. The stormtroopers refuse to give up when the Republic win. So again, I think we're seeing a little bit of that play out in The Mandalorian now.
What's wild is we're seeing, a lot of the things that are talked about in here.
Yep.
A lot of these things do come to fruition. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and other stuff you're going to bring up. Because I've read through this a little bit. But, you think about the 50 to 100 Jedi.
Right.
We're seeing more and more with what is now canon material being released with other Jedi that survived.
Right.
And we keep going, wow, how many are there? Well, it seems like the original intent from what was established before was there were going to be somewhere between 50 and 100 that survived. Some would go into hiding and never resurface.
Right.
Jedi Fallen Order expands on that a little bit. With Jedi who shut themselves off because with the way everything went, they kind of started drifting and things like that.
Right.
So you had Jedi actually shutting themselves off from the Force. One, you don't want to get caught.
Yep.
Two, it's a really bad time. So you're probably not going to make the best decisions because of pure desperation, things like that.
Right.
So the path to the dark side is really, really prevalent.
That tug could be pretty strong, huh?
Exactly. And then I lost my thought. You were just talking about, oh yeah, so the remnants of the Empire.
Right.
You said the Mandalorian.
Yep.
They're hitting that to a T.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just gone.
And but it's also different than the Disney sequels too. The Disney sequels is like a contingency plan that, you know, creates this whole other new quote unquote empire. This is actually fragmented groups that actually band together and you know, they kind of like start their own things and, you know.
Right. With everything else that's going on, you know, aside from the Disney sequels, everything else that's been coming out.
Yep.
Really aligns with all this thinking here.
Yeah.
Even Solo, and we'll get to that. But
sure.
A lot of this stuff aligns with these ideas here.
Yeah.
The only thing that's a departure is 3 films, and that's the sequel trilogy.
Right.
Those are a very, very big departure from all this, with the exception of the idea for a female protagonist.
Right. Well, there's 1 or 2 more things that actually line up a little bit, but we'll get to that. You mentioned Solo. So there's a part here where he says, there's a power vacuum, so gangsters like the Hutts are taking advantage of the situation, and there is chaos. The key person is Darth Maul, who had been resurrected in the Clone Wars cartoons. He brings all the gangs together. He's very old, and we have 2 versions of him. One with a set of cybernetic legs, like a spider, and then later he has metal legs, and he was a little bit bigger and more of a superhero. So I think this idea of bringing Darth Maul back is kind of like been, even if, you know, he's talking about it back then or whatever, he kind of always wanted to bring Maul back and have him be a key player moving forward. And then, you know, we got him back in the Clone Wars, Rebels, and like you said, live action in Solo.
Yeah. As a crime boss.
Exactly. Yes.
So we saw the spider-like mechanical legs.
Yep.
And then the later metal legs didn't really make him look much like a superhero.
Right. I think that's
his
just
abilities were pretty fantastic.
Yes. I think that's just, you know, George's colloquialisms or whatever, you know, can't say the word, geez. But, you know, just he's probably thinking in $6 million man terms or something.
Right.
You know. But let's see. This is okay, so
all those pieces were in place until Rebels, and
right. Okay, so here's a similarity apparently. It says one of the biggest similarities between Lucas's sequel and Disney's movies is that Luke would have apparently died in episode 8 either way. This is Pablo Hidalgo writing from his book. Years before The Last Jedi began development, the treatment left behind by George Lucas in 2012 also had episode 8 be the one wherein Luke Skywalker would die. So, and this goes to, you know, it's kind of more speculation and things, but, you know, he did say the final trilogy would focus on the daughter being Leia and the grandchildren of Anakin, and that right there is where I think there would have to be, some sort of again, almost like Ben Solo or Jason Solo, one of them's kind of got to go dark and could end up taking out Luke. But then again, you're going to be left with this, strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you could ever imagine situation again, and, he apparently says that, it would be clear who the chosen one is, and it would end up being Leia who would bring balance in the end. So I have a feeling this would be the sort of situation where, it could be good child, bad child. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then Leia has to handle it. So I don't know. Interesting stuff.
With the old mom backhand.
Right. Exactly. with a little added extra force.
Yeah. Thought your mom's backhand sucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Your mom didn't have the force.
Right.
Well, I mean, and not to go down this rabbit hole, but you say the Luke Skywalker's death in Episode 8 would have happened either way.
Right.
I don't think Luke Skywalker's death in Episode 8 was the problem.
Agreed.
The way he went out, the way it went, not that bad. Actually pretty cool. He did something we've never seen.
True.
Something we never thought possible.
That
something,
is.
In all honesty, if this was going to be a possibility in the future, only Luke Skywalker could end up pulling that off, right?
Sure.
Because that was the kind of the way we felt about Luke and his future, right? He was going to be the one to do things that have never been done.
Yes.
It was the lead up that they lost us.
I agree with that. Okay. I will also say though that if Luke Skywalker would have had let's say a Qui-Gon style death, that probably would have been better received. And I don't know. It's go ahead.
I don't know. I think the way Luke's death was received was purely because everybody was like, whoa, what the hell did you do to Luke? Why is he so angry? Why is he so dismissive of everything? Why is he so down?
Right.
If you wouldn't have had all that, I don't think the way that played out would be a problem for anyone.
Right. And there's also the parts where the part of it that just, again, in Episode 9, Luke drags the X-Wing out of the water. Like, why didn't Luke just drag the X-Wing out of the water in Episode 8 and go there? I mean,
well, she didn't need it then.
Right. I know. Plot devices, right? But it's that kind of thing, though.
Well, the other thing with Luke too wasn't so much that he did what he did. He exiled himself. He did this. That wasn't even as much of it. It was how resistant he was, knowing that his sister,
right,
Han,
the fate of the galaxy,
were all in such jeopardy.
Yeah,
and he's like,
yeah,
nah, screw them.
Yep.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. Absolutely.
And even if he wasn't going to get involved, right?
Right.
Even if he wasn't going to get involved, if he would have been a little more open to training her.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I can't do what you need me to do. Maybe you're the hope.
Exactly.
And instead he's going to be as dismissive as Yoda was.
You know, there's
What
parts
happened to you?
there's parts that almost remind you of, you know, how Yoda treated him, but then it just got like, no, he's just kind of being mean, you know,
Yeah.
mean old man. But if Luke had some sort of an issue with founding a Jedi Academy, things went wrong, it was bad, he doubts himself and his abilities with the Force and all that kind of stuff, cool, I get it. But it's what you were talking about earlier. It's your family's in trouble, all of your friends are in trouble, the galaxy is in trouble, and you're like, nope, not gonna do it. That's the part that's hard to swallow.
Not only that, but Hosnian's already been destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, it's over.
Right.
If you train another bad one, what the hell is it gonna hurt?
Right. Yeah,
It's
true.
already over.
Yep.
So, what do you got to lose?
Yeah, and you know, I don't want this to turn into a
Right.
Disney
The Last
sequel
Jedi.
bash fest or anything, but it's
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not what we're trying to do here.
no.
We're not trying to bash it.
Right.
We're airing what were our concerns and looking at what was talked about, which was Luke's death in the 8th film.
Right.
Period.
That's true. That's true.
So this is not about, okay, we liked it, we didn't like it. There were things we liked and didn't like about The Last Jedi.
Yes.
You know, if you have any doubt about that, go back and listen.
You know, I would venture to say that there's things that, you know, we could take or leave from each one of the sequel films, but that one's definitely a standout.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And that's one that we'll see how it ages, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's going to be it. And the problem is that right now, 7 and 9 contrast 8 by a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I think
and
okay, go ahead.
and it's just, we've said it before, it was a direction thing.
Right.
They didn't know what direction they were going.
Yes.
That's never been more clear
Right.
than when we watch, you know, The Mandalorian, we watch, you know, even watching Solo, like you see all these things that you know they had somewhat of a plan.
Right.
Yeah, Solo was going horribly wrong and they had to bring in another director and all that, but they ended up with a plan and
Yep.
it fit.
Exactly.
And it turns out it actually fit with what they're talking about here.
Yeah. Exactly. That was kind of cool. I mean,
And so this is information that they probably had at their disposal at
Yes.
the time.
it's got to be. I would imagine that's for sure. You know, I've got to. I hate to just keep heaping more praise on the guy, but I got a feeling that Dave Filoni is consulted a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because the man worked right next to George for so many years that I think when they say, you know, what should we do here, Dave? He's like, well, hey, George had this idea that Maul would unite all of the underworld and blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, cool. That's a great way to, you know, end this movie.
Well, even more so, Dave's unique position is not necessarily understanding where George was headed, but between working with George and being, you know, as into Star Wars as he is, he was able to take those two things and meld them together. So he understands what George was thinking when he made these.
Yes.
He was able to really get inside his head and understand what was going on when he was making the ones that he made.
Yes.
So understanding what's there would help him better understand what the future might bring.
Absolutely.
So that's his unique position, is he understands the existing universe probably better than anyone else because he got to work so closely with George in creating some of that.
Yeah. And he understands how the web of all these stories fit together. And you know, I don't think he takes that lightly at all. That's all very key to him.
Well, I mean, even Jon Favreau's talked about that. Like, I pitched ideas, and Dave's like, you can't really do that.
Exactly. No, I think people would like it. Yeah, but you can't do that.
It's like,
it works in Star Wars. Right.
See, this already happened.
Yeah.
So you're screwed.
Yeah. But I don't know. Just interesting to kick around these thoughts of where George might have been headed with stuff. And like you said at the beginning, a lot of this stuff was subject to change, but I think, you know, we would have seen these broad brushstrokes somehow, some way, as things could have played out, but, you know, never did. So.
Oh. So we're going to have to, you know, get, you know, moved on to the second half here.
Right.
But I do want to ask one thing, since we're talking about Dave Filoni.
Okay.
So, I believe it was 2 episodes ago of The Mandalorian, not last week's episode, but 2 weeks ago, we saw Dave Filoni again.
Yes.
Playing his character on there. What was his character's name?
Something Wolf, right?
Yeah. So I gotta ask, you think he's a descendant?
A descendant?
Yeah, what was the commander of the clone detachment that was with Plo Koon?
Oh.
Commander Wolf, maybe?
Maybe. Gotcha.
Think Dave Filoni's playing a descendant of a character he created?
It's possible. Wow. But then, you know, some of these clones would have had to have, you know, been able to, I guess, find wives and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and had kids. And
just saying.
Could happen. I mean, that kind of thing did happen in the Clone Wars. So, it's possible.
So, just a thought. I understand it's a clone, but
it's a good thought.
You know, we saw these clones becoming more and more human, right?
Right.
It's a thought. It's a far out thought. But
that's funny because, you know, at this point in The Mandalorian, he could run across Boba Fett and be like, wow, you look just like my dad.
Yeah, okay, never mind. That sounds more crazy now that we talk about it more.
Yeah, but, you know. Hey.
And we didn't even talk about it that much. That's how crazy it is.
It is fun, though.
Yeah. I just pitched it because it's like, maybe that's the one clone that, like, you know.
You never know.
I would almost think that they would kind of have a fail-safe there where, you know, they couldn't.
Right.
You know, procreate.
That would kind of make sense.
Yeah. That would make more sense, right?
Right.
Like I said, the longer this goes on, the more I'm like, wow, that was crazy. That's just a nickname. What are you thinking, Joe?
Hey, it's Star Wars. Anything's possible.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right. I knew we'd get to the second half of it eventually. So, yeah, we're going long, Doug. We're going long.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
It's time to talk The Mandalorian. About time, right?
About time.
Why everybody's here.
Yes. This
So-
was a cool episode.
Yes. So this week we're talking Chapter 12, The Siege. And, of course, I'll give the obligatory... We're going to spoil the hell out of this episode.
Of course. Yes.
So, if you haven't watched it yet, now's a good time to pause the show, go watch it, then come back to us.
Right.
So, yeah, The Siege. What you think?
Pretty cool. Got to see a couple of our favorites, characters.
Yep.
Always love that. Things are looking a little different on Navarro now. So
Yeah. Makes me think that, this show didn't pick right up.
oh, for sure.
It's like, you don't do what they did in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You turn the seedy bar into a school. The Mandalorian covert gets turned into some hideout for walrusmen.
Well, that could happen in days.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cara Dune is like the marshal now, taking care of business.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that, no one said that about Cobb Vanth, right? Like, no one was like, oh no, it's the marshal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, what he was dealing with was not sentience.
Right.
He was kind of dealing with a big worm.
Yeah.
So I did notice at the beginning of this episode
Yep.
that this show has an affinity for the word the.
Okay.
I saw the title pop up. I was like, The Siege. Oh, another the episode. Like, that's all the episodes this season. The Siege, The Heiress, The Passenger, The Marshal.
Huh.
I'm like, wow, they really like the word the.
Interesting.
So then I went back and looked at the first season. And I'll list off all the names that have the in it.
Okay.
The Mandalorian, The Child, The Sin, The Gunslinger, The Prisoner, The Reckoning. Only 2 episodes break from that naming methodology.
Really?
Yep. Sanctuary and Redemption.
Wow.
Every other title for this show has the word the preceding the rest of the title.
And that's funny because, with the title of the series, it kind of makes sense that the episodes kind of follow the same naming convention.
Right. And it's all 2-word titles except for the 2, which are 1-word titles.
Right.
So
That's weird because
if you take out the word the, you get 1-word titles.
right. and it's almost as though you could have put the in front of those. So why didn't you?
I mean, the Sanctuary is a little weird, but the Redemption is not that bad. Because the Sanctuary makes it sound like, is it the only one?
Right.
I guess the Redemption's weird too, because it's like, is this the only time anybody can be redeemed?
Right. Yeah, wow.
This is your one shot, and which is probably the reason why those were removed.
Yeah, I
Just
suppose.
because when you say the Sanctuary or the Redemption, it's like, wow, it's odd.
Okay. I wonder if there's something in those episodes that we need to pay closer attention to.
Well, I'm going to go back and look for it. Probably a waste of time, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's not really a waste of time. Anytime you go back and watch some Star Wars, it's time well spent.
Yeah, I mean, watching Star Wars is going to be fantastic, but the waste of time part is I'm going to be looking for something that ain't there.
Well, hey, you never know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought put into these things.
there might be an aha moment. It's like, oh,
Right.
either that or we'll see something happen, in a similar light this season. Maybe then we could put the piece. Like I said, we're splitting hairs here, but
We are, but it's an interesting thought though.
but it just stuck out to me, and yeah, I don't know why it sticks out to me, but it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So
But anyway,
yeah, I was just gonna say. So
there's way
next
more
thing.
important things to talk about than the.
yeah, don't touch the wires.
I like how he reacted to that too.
I know.
Like he touches the wires together, gets fried for a second.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
He's really becoming a dad.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like we've all been there, right?
Well, no, but
Well, no, I mean, no, what I'm saying is helping dad out with a project.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, don't do this, but it looks like it's going to be faster this way. No, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments out of my dad. Like,
Right.
are you all right?
And as a dad, yes, I've had those moments. Yep.
So, yeah, that was an absolute fantastic way to kick off the episode.
Right. I just love the fact that, this tiny little compartment, he's like back behind the panels and stuff. Like, you're small, get in there.
I like too when he's like, yeah, put the red wire where you took the blue wire from. He takes the blue wire and like slams it against the board.
I know.
Hey, the little victories though. He found the board. He found the 2 wires you were talking about.
Right.
There's a lot of crap going on in there, and he found those 2 things.
Yes.
So, but yeah, the child is really being humorous this season. They're really, really smacking on the humor there.
Oh yeah. He's been hilarious all season as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure that, he's going to be accused of being a thief now, but
yeah, there's that.
I mean, was that a little dark
He's just
side?
using the Force for so many wrong things, right?
Yeah.
Choking Cara Dune. Stealing cookies.
Stealing cookies. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I did crack up. Like, wow, they didn't even. They took perfectly normal cookies and just colored them, like a tealy blue, right?
Well, they just look like macaroons to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a completely normal cookie. They're just macaroons, but they're teal.
I think you can make them that way.
Oh, I mean, you can make a macaroon any color you want.
My daughter does a lot of baking.
They didn't even try that hard on making the wrapper look spacey. It looks like a Girl Scout cookie wrapper.
Kinda, yeah.
But hey, that's not the important part of the story, right?
Right.
Going all out on cookies was not in the budget.
Good point. So,
but yeah, now into the meat, right?
Right.
Back to Navarro.
Yes.
Back to Navarro, we find out in our first introduction to Navarro, it was Cara Dune is laying down the law.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And shoulder pressing, what is that, Aqualish?
I still call him whatever, like Walrus Man or something.
Walrus Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's shoulder pressing Walrus Man. And using them as a shield.
Yeah. Again, demonstrating just how badass she is.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, all right, we got this, this actress we brought in to, play this rebel soldier, going to be good with armament and things like that. But, before acting, she was an MMA fighter, so let's use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's hand-to-hand kick the crap out of everybody. The only time she uses a blaster is when it's the person's blaster she's kicking the crap out of.
Right.
Until the very end. Then she draws her blaster.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd. Not odd, but it's like, why wouldn't you go in there with your blaster?
I think someone just likes hand-to-hand.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, 4 blasters in a room, you're going to go in just fists.
Right.
Cool.
Definitely cool.
Good.
Definitely cool.
Makes for good television.
Yeah.
But not the most practical.
Exactly. So
yeah, then we see Grief Karga again.
Yep.
Once again, beating on that. This is not picking right up where it left off. He's grayed out quite a bit.
Yeah.
From last season.
And he took right to Baby Yoda. Like are you taking care of this little guy?
Yeah, I really like that. Because last season, this child was a job.
Right.
And you don't ask questions. I got rich, you got rich.
Right.
Why are you worried about it? Now, granted, this child saved his life twice.
Exactly.
But the way at which there was a ulterior motive too to him taking the child the way he did.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna just drop him off right here.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to school. We're going to talk business.
So yeah, that was but it was cool to see that character has grown to care about that child as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, granted, saved his life twice.
Yep.
You're gonna like someone that saved your life twice.
So
the job.
Yeah, the job.
The job is an Imperial base.
Right.
Want to get them out of there because they just want to finish the job on, tidying things up on Navarro. No more Empire equals better days.
Right.
And yeah, this was very good fun, very good action.
Yep, totally. This is a lot of this stuff was stuff that we thought from the trailer was going to be like aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer or something, but it's this base, and clearly Imperial type design, and
yeah, they like their aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta say, there's a couple things that hit me about all this stuff. These sequences in particular, very reminiscent of Episode 4 of the original trilogy. Sneak in, disable the tractor beam or overheat the core or whatever. And on top of that, I gotta say, I was digging these jokes that they had kicking, like not jokes, but what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. The blue guy.
Continue.
It'll come to me. But they tell him get out there and shut down the cooling lines, and he's like, there's not even a guardrail on this thing. You know, it's like it's one of those classic Star Wars jokes where it's like, none of these tall platforms have any guardrails. Mithril, that's his name. Yeah.
Yes.
And I gotta say, a lot of these stormtrooper lines, I believe, were lifted right out of episode 4 and inserted in here. For instance, all right, men, load your weapons.
Could be.
There they are, blast them, you know. All that's, I think these lines were like the audio is taken right out. It's just one of those things, you know. Episode 4 is so embedded into my brain, it's like I was picking them out.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of good sequences there going through. Very reminiscent of episode 4, and you know, just cool.
Yeah, another scene I liked with as far as the jokes and things like that. You know, he's like, I'm just gonna wait out here. You know,
right? Yeah,
yeah. When the lava tide comes, just let us know. We'll toss you down a rope.
Yeah,
just mouth lava. All right.
Yes. I do love how, you know, Mando's like, hold on a second, flies up there. All of a sudden, there's a stormtrooper falling. And there's a couple times.
I like Mithril's reaction too when he flies up there. Just holds his hands out like, what the hell is he doing?
Right. But there's a couple times that I'm thinking with these stormtroopers, I wonder if we're hearing this this new Wilhelm scream at some point or another that's supposed to be out and about.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a few opportunities for it in this episode. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So they find out that this is a lab.
Yeah.
They're doing research. They're doing something with the child's blood.
Yeah.
What are they doing here? Is this they're just trying to clone Force sensitives?
Well,
this is are they doing something that could be used to bring back the Emperor?
Well, I think that we have to assume this is part of what ended up bringing the Emperor back. You know, this is like part of the research, because
this is definitely going to be the research that brought you Snoke.
Okay, sure.
Because Snoke, they created this being.
Right.
You know, he wasn't a clone, but he wasn't, natural born either.
Right.
He was what was called a strandcast, right? Kind of a
yeah.
A creation mutant kind of deal. So this is definitely probably the research that's going to lead to being able to create a Force sensitive being like Snoke.
Yeah.
And yes, probably some of this is going to be utilized to bring the Emperor back.
Right.
I think the Emperor's body was a strand cast too, right? They were just able to bring him back into this new body they created. I believe it was explained that way.
Yeah. Yes.
Because there was no retrieving the Emperor's body.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a few things here. We see Dr. Pershing in a little hologram in his report to Moff Gideon. And he references a volunteer and a donor and an M count. So that, in my opinion, has got to be a reference to midichlorian count.
Yes.
So, this is definitely them trying to, I'd say, infuse Force abilities into a non-Force user, something like that. That's and because if they have a volunteer, which I would we would have to assume is some sort of disciple of Palpatine's, they're trying stuff right now. This is kind of like early days, I guess. They're trying whatever they can do to bring back the Emperor or get Snoke created or whatever. They're in the early stages.
Yeah, I like the use of the word donor. Like the child was like willingly donating.
I know, that's hilarious. And
but that's the bad guys never think they're the bad guys, right?
Exactly. But he did mention that he only had so much of the child's blood because he took what he could without killing him. So apparently they're out now, so they got to get the child again.
Right, and my guess is this time he won't be trying to save the child because he's going to be trying to save his own, hide.
Right.
He says, I won't fail you again. So he's going to harvest everything he needs.
Yeah.
This next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, this is it's an interesting twist that I didn't really see coming.
Yeah, me neither.
Even though we knew they were doing something with the child, some kind of research.
Yeah, and I think this kind of stuff was speculated about, to a certain degree. But it's funny because even the cloning tank we see in this episode, you get a pretty close look at it. It's like whatever they had going on there, dude had like another head growing out of his head. Something. It's like things weren't going well.
Well, one of my favorite novels to bring up whenever we start talking about this kind of stuff is the Plagueis novel.
Right.
I know it's not canon, but it should be. But
yes,
it's not canon, but they talk about this kind of stuff. How the Force pushes back when you try to do stuff like this.
Right.
And Plagueis goes down this road, like taking, midichlorian rich, blood and like things like that, and trying to create a Force user. It doesn't work out.
Right.
The Force does not like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing those threads being woven into this stuff.
Exactly. And it's not like a real obvious thing either, but if you're paying close enough attention, it, it's pretty clear that's kind of what's going on.
Right. Because like I said, that novel, especially for stuff like this, it really kind of dove into that because Plagueis was just fascinated with it. With trying to unlock the secrets of the Force. And very selfishly, because he was trying to extend his own life indefinitely.
Exactly.
So he was trying to figure out ways to prevent, his loss of the Force and his loss of ability to regenerate. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool to see that kind of stuff keep getting worked in.
Oh, yeah. Another small little thing, right, was the code cylinder. Right?
Yep.
This is something we actually first, these things have been on Imperial uniforms since 1977. Yep. But we first saw it in use in Rebels, I believe.
Yep.
And here again, little consistency from Dave Filoni. Using it to access passageways and stuff like that. Kind of cool.
All right, so back to the action.
Right.
After this, Mando realizes he's got to go get the kid.
Right.
Because Gideon's alive.
Gideon's alive, and they were using the kid's blood. Yep. So, yeah.
So he knows Gideon's going to be coming for him,
Right.
and Child. So he's got to get out of Dodge. Go get the kid.
Exactly.
And in leaving, oh man, this is one of my favorite scenes in this episode when they get into that tank
Yes.
and drive it off the cliff,
Yeah.
and they're all in there. Ah!
Yep.
What a fantastic scene! What a fantastic sequence, because this
It
sequence,
was.
you know, with the speeder bikes, and TIE fighters, just a great sequence from start to finish. Once they get into this thing,
Right.
you know, it had a bunch of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Things were working, things weren't working.
Right. I did love the speeder bikes. Again, these are, like I said before, when we saw them in the trailer, this is, iconic. Episode 6 speeder bikes. And then what I like about it, especially the chase scene, is, Grief gets a chance. He gets the lead biker, right? Takes him out. But then, the other two figure, okay, real quick, we got to figure out something else. You go that way, I go this way, and it's not like just a matter of, taking your time, targeting each one and getting them all, it's makes for a more interesting chase. And then
I gotta say, Kara really enjoyed smashing that one into the side of that canyon.
Yeah.
A little much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she had a little bit of a smile on her face.
A little bit?
Yeah.
I believe her reaction was, woo!
Yeah, exactly.
Although, with the one on top with the grenade,
yeah,
Grief had his woo moment.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He turned around, he's like, "Oh, there you are. Look at you, right in the center of the guns."
Exactly.
So yeah, just a fun sequence, and it was really fun to see these characters kind of get their own moment.
Yes.
It was fun to see them alongside Mando, but it was fun to see them away from Mando.
Absolutely. This is our kind of like our little taste of if there were to be a Grief and Kara show, I think it would work. I think it'd work really well.
Well, I will say, and not to get too far ahead, but I will say I do feel like that is a very real possibility.
Oh yeah, me too.
That you would see a show with Grief Karga and Cara Dune.
I mean, we kind of like have it. In this episode, we had all the set pieces kind of laid out. They're, making Navarro kind of what they want it to be, a safe place and a trading outpost for the region.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's kind of, I don't know. It makes sense. It's like, because you can have other characters coming and going, each week as crazy antics ensue.
Yeah, and not only that, but you set it up because now they've pissed off the remnants of the Empire.
Right. And and by the end of this episode, it's clear they're lying to the New Republic too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're just kind of wanting to be left alone, do their thing.
Yeah, the other thing there too is at the end of this episode, Kara almost seems like making this jump to the New Republic might be something she wants.
Yeah, it's almost like she's thinking about it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. The way she turned to watch him walk away after he put that insignia down, or whatever, that metal, whatever.
Right.
I'm really curious on what that is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like, it almost looked like a service medal.
Right.
Because it looked like it had some bars on it, right?
It had some bars on it. It was in the shape of a pentagon around the New Republic insignia, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looked like a service medal, something of the sort.
Exactly.
And yeah. Very, very odd moment, but cool moment, because you see some conflict in Kara.
Right.
Like, she wants to continue the fight.
Yeah, and in a way, in a way, she talked about how she basically didn't want to be a cop for the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
But really, that's kind of what she's being for Navarro right now. It's a little grittier, little less regulated, I guess, but it's still kind of what she's doing in a way.
Yeah, and she's reminded of why she joined up in the first place.
Right.
With Alderaan.
Yeah.
And then, that it was almost like, she lost everyone at Alderaan, right?
Yes.
And you almost saw a moment where it's like, since I left the rebellion, with what became the New Republic, I kind of lost all that too.
Right.
So there's some conflict going on for Kara.
Yeah. For sure.
There's a lot more to this character than meets the eye, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And it's obvious she
go ahead.
She likes killing stormtroopers.
Yeah. That's where she always says, "Yep, I'm in."
Yeah. He's Imperial.
I'm in.
All right.
So something we kind of like jumped right past is the whole for the chase scene, Mando coming back and taking out the TIE fighters. And
Baby Yoda's roller coaster.
Baby Yoda's roller coaster. And what do you do when you've been eating cookies?
Well, not only that, but the whole time they're in this pursuit. Like, he blows up the first tie, and Child's arms go up. He's like, yeah,
exactly.
And like they're diving, they're climbing, and the whole time he's got his arms up like, woo!
Exactly.
It's like a roller coaster ride for him.
Yep.
He's having a blast. And then just like a roller coaster.
Yep.
Them cookies come back up. He lost his cookies.
He tossed his cookie. Yep.
The same color as the cookies too.
It's great.
And then just like a dad.
Oh yeah. Mando's cleaning it up. Yep.
What do you say? He said, I got some
maintenance to do.
Maintenance to do
on the ship. Yeah. Oh, so, good stuff.
Just another side quest episode, right? It really is. It's another moment away from where the show's headed.
Right.
But wow, it was fun.
Yes. Totally fun. It's clear that Mando's on a mission, but he keeps getting sidetracked left and right,
And he had to get that ship fixed.
Yeah, that's for sure. One way or another, can't count on the, Moncal doing it right, apparently. Which is odd because, they're supposed to be like a shipbuilding race kind of thing.
Apparently they're good at like manufacturing.
Right, yeah. Repairs, maybe not. Yeah.
Repairs, not so much. Maybe they're the engineers. They're not the actual like builders. They're
Right.
the ones that design it.
That could be.
So I've worked with plenty of engineers.
Yes.
They can make stuff work. They can't fix nothing.
Right.
And when they try to fix, and you look at how the ship was fixed, when they try to fix stuff, they overdo it.
Right.
Like, what were all them strings and things hanging everywhere, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, and typical Star Wars fashion, right?
Yep.
Apparently, whenever you get ship repairs done,
Yep.
there's got to be a tracking device installed.
Absolutely.
It is just, it's necessary.
Yeah.
Plot point, right?
Not this ship, sister. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But hey, it works,
This is a what do they refer to it as? It's a pre-Empire ship, right?
Yes. Yes.
So hopefully the post-Empire ships, you can scan for tracking devices.
Yeah. You would think.
Because this is just it's their favorite trick, right?
That would be like a routine thing for me if I were like on the run from people.
Yeah.
Just be like every hour. It's like, I know no one's come aboard, but just to be on the safe side, scanning for tracking devices again.
Yeah. Anyone shoot any of those like weird tracking devices at the hole?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
Need repairs. Here's a tracking device. It shows the kind of clout of the Empire still, right?
Yeah.
They still got people.
Yep. They got people, and it kind of shows you where the populace is too. Kind of like, especially out here in the Outer Rim, it's like, yeah, the Empire, the big E Empire might be gone, but who knows? They might come back. It's kind of how the people are kind of playing it.
Yeah, and if they come back, I don't want to be on the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
I want it to be like, hey, you remember I did this?
That's right.
Like that matters in the Empire.
I know.
Never learn.
It was that was funny. You'll be well rewarded or something. It's like, yeah, those people are never get to collect.
Well rewarded.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right. Last up, we end up on Gideon's command cruiser.
Yes.
And we see Gideon for the first time this season. We were told he was alive. We knew he was alive. He cut out of the TIE fighter with the Darksaber.
Sure. Yep.
But this is the first time we've seen him, in the 4th episode. So.
Right.
It took a little time to get there, but he's back. He's still looking for the asset.
Right.
And I gotta say, man, he's got something there. Some sort of armament.
Yep.
I've seen tons of speculation. Because at first I was like, wow, why do they put Death Trooper stuff up like that? And I'm like, looking closer, I'm like, that's not Death Trooper armor. What is that? And went and did a little research and got put on the path of Dark Troopers.
Right. That is what it's looking like.
Once I seen images of Dark Troopers, yeah, I think that's what this is.
Yep. Yeah, I think at first glance, most people would probably be thinking Death Trooper, but having them be kind of like in these cells up against the walls there, it's like that just didn't kind of make sense. And like you said, after looking into it a little bit, it's like, yep. And then I actually have it paused on that picture right now, and it's blurry and it's in the background, but everything matches up with Dark Trooper for sure.
Mm-hmm. So some heavy infantry at his disposal. Something
that he says, you know, when we track down Mando, yep, we'll be ready.
Which, I gotta say, Mando's gonna have to deal with that stuff, but at least he's going to find a Force user.
Right.
So I'm all in next week. Next week, I think we're gonna see Ahsoka, man.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's the most likely place that Mando would be heading at this point, and it's also the episode Dave Filoni's supposed to direct, so I think there's a good chance.
Nothing obvious there, right?
Right.
It's only fitting, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Dave Filoni's been involved with this character since day one.
Yep.
So, yeah, it makes sense. I would expect to see Ahsoka next week. I see a lot of people out there are disappointed that Ahsoka didn't make an appearance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just excited for the next episode at this point. You know, I wouldn't be disappointed in the one we just watched, that's for sure.
No, there's nothing to be disappointed with there. This is a fun episode. It's good Star Wars.
Yes.
So this show continues to nail it.
Absolutely.
And just being fun too.
Right.
I think that's what's really going for it, is it's hitting on a lot of serious stuff. Like we talked about the cloning and these experiments and things like that. Serious stuff. Major impacts on the canon. But so much fun everywhere else.
Absolutely. That's
Star Wars doesn't have to be so serious.
Right, exactly. That's what Star Wars is. You know, it does all of that. And when it's doing all of that and doing it right, again, best thing around on TV. So,
yep, for sure. So, all right. Well, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.